We feel honored to have with us the panel. You all hardly need any introduction. You have made all us proud of your distinguished work in numerous field. You are one of the most celebrated foreign science service delegates. For the topic, the topic for the today's panel discussion is the role of innovation and entrepreneurship in school education for achieving sustainable development goal. Now I request today's mediator, Dr. SHEELAN Mishra, Head Management Studies and ED Cell, New Horizon College of Engineering, Bengaluru, Karnataka. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Kurleen, for introducing me. And a wholehearted welcome to all the panel members. And I was really very happy to listen to all the previous speakers. Probin Mondal sir, you have given a wonderful session, a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. For today's panel, our topic is the role of innovation and entrepreneurship in school education for achieving sustainable development goals. I think more than ever, this is a time when all the countries are talking about SDGs, and there are certain 17 SDGs which are listed by United Nations, and the one which are focused on education are more prevailing right now, especially in our country as well. When we talk about education, there has been a paradigm shift which is happening, right? The role of education was seen as something which was creating the experts in the subject knowledge, which was creating thoughtful citizens, creating a lot of self-esteem and confidence among the students, lifelong habits for work, and how's it, teach students how to learn. Yeah, this has been the major goals of education till now. But the kind of changes which are happening across the world, especially in technology, there's a shift which is happening in the goal of education as well. From traditional education, we are moving towards more of entrepreneurship education, right? From a simple, we are moving towards slightly more complex structures. When I say complex structure, we are trying to get into more experiential learning, more practical-based learning, more workshop-based learning. Somewhere there was a concrete structure. Now there is a plan to move into the social structures, right? If the traditional education was more of passive learning, now people are looking at active learning. So there has been education in various countries, which was mix of both. But if you look at various countries, for them, it's going to be a paradigm shift from traditional to the innovation and entrepreneurship-led education. Now, with this small base, I welcome all my panelists. They are very learned in their field, and I'm very happy to be part of this panel with all of them. May I now request all the panel members to share their views one by one. I'll be inviting you. And I request you to also kind of keep the time in mind, since we are already at Indian Standard Time 6:20. Means let's look at another 30 minutes to complete the panel discussion so that we can still finish it in time. So can I start? I'll go in the order of the list which is given to me for the panel members. So can I request Dr. Leo H. ABERION? Kindly excuse me if I'm not able to pronounce the name correctly. Please excuse me for that. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Dr. Leo, you're most welcome to share your views.
Okay, so hello everyone. I'm very glad to be invited for given the opportunity to share my knowledge about the role of innovation and entrepreneurship in school education for achieving sustainable development goals. So as Dr. Sheelan mentioned a while ago about the sustainable development goals, all of the countries are following to that particular SDGs. But the challenges now are on our resources, considering that still the Philippines is a developing country and we have this global pandemic. We are still suffering now. We are still in the process of several lockdowns or different quarantine measures. So supposedly we are going forward, but because of the pandemic, we were shifted to another learning modality which hinders these learning modalities hinder our educators and also our leaders in the Department of Education. We call it Department of Education under the executive department. They were we were shocked because we were not prepared about what modality. So now we are moving forward on what particular way or direction are we going to provide to our students, consider especially in terms of innovation and entrepreneurship, considering that all of us, or the president of the Republic of the Philippines is still not allowing us to conduct face-to-face classes. So these are our challenges, because for me, and as an educator and at the same time also as a school leader, for me, knowledge starts at home. And also when you talk about innovation, it's about skills, which is coupled with entrepreneurship, or these are about how to sustain or how to maintain. That's why now I am, because of the pandemic, I call it also as a blessing, as it gives a positive impact with my family, because of this pandemic, we were, for the 4-month lockdown last year, we were able to have our own training center, and my employees are my children. So they are now, even if they're already still in the senior high school and in the university level, they are now earning, and I taught them the very basic on how to start a business and how to manage a business, especially in terms of marketing. So it was mentioned already a while ago about the different skills. I agree with the speakers about the important skills to be enhanced, like for example, communication skills, decision-making skills, critical thinking skills, and everything. It's very important to hone our children. So especially Professor Edward mentioned about holistic education is very important moving forward on how to prepare our students to prepare themselves, because they are the future generations. They are the hope of our country. They will, of course, we will grow old, and considering the pandemic, we do not know whether we are still present or we are still alive tomorrow. We do not know. That's why I in my own case, based on what I've learned in education, I have now my own training center, my own school, and I am developing starting from my family. And of course, I'm sharing this to my students, to the teachers as well. And also we have to equip our teachers on how to enhance, on how to impart this knowledge of innovation, how to utilize the skills, the ideas from our students in order for them to apply, to survive, and also especially to utilize the scarce resources, especially in our situation wherein most of the parents, or most of the businesses are closing because of the global pandemic. So thank you so much. That's all I can share as of this moment, and maybe later on when there are questions, I can also share. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Leo, for such a wonderful and brief sharing, and very well mentioned about that. Yes, when we talk about entrepreneurship or innovative education, we're focusing more on building those skills which are the need of the today. So going forward, may I request Ms. HASSNA to please share your views?
Yes, I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I would like to thank the organizer for this international webinar for allowing us to talk about this important topic. And my talk will be about what is directly related to the school and the classroom, of course, as a teacher and educator, how we can encourage and foster innovation and entrepreneurship to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. First, I would like to draw your attention that sometimes the teacher is not accurately aware of these goals, or some of them. So it is necessary first that these 17 development goals are tangibly available within the institutions, schools, for teachers, and in a simplified way for students, on the grounds that they are noble goals. So the students' daily contact with these goals, it is what will drive him to creativity and innovation, as the student is always motivated by nature to achieve great goals, to achieve his internal stimulus. How can entrepreneurship be taught in schools? This is very important. One of the biggest challenges facing the world is the increase in employment rates, which need to develop radical solutions according to effective strategies that help in overcoming them. Employment opportunities and the optimal use of capital. Some countries of the world in the recent period have taken a new curve to expand the circle of learning and mastering all the concepts related to the world of entrepreneurship. It adopted some strategies that varied between educational programs and study materials for entrepreneurship in the pre-university education stage, to motivate students to generate pioneering ideas that can be converted into successful projects on the ground, in addition to encouraging them to be business owners instead of looking for job opportunities. The economic changes and the fluctuations in the career sector all over the world have imposed on global societies to teach the concepts and terms of entrepreneurship from childhood to the various through the various stages of education. We can say that spreading the culture of entrepreneurship across educational sectors has become one of the necessities that governments of countries must implement quickly to inculcate culture of self-employment. And as for the methods of teaching entrepreneurship in schools, it must raise the efficiency of teachers first before starting to implement the idea of teaching the concepts of entrepreneurship in schools. It is necessary to raise the efficiency of teachers and train them on the latest methods that can be used to simplify the concepts of entrepreneurship and to provide them with skills that make them mentors and not traditional teachers, and all this can be achieved through the assistance of a number of experts in pioneering world. The culture of self-employment or entrepreneurship can be spread among all students by making entrepreneurship education mandatory for all students of all educational levels, such as primary, middle, secondary, and possibly university education, as well to inculcate entrepreneurial skills in the student's mind. Facilitate the sharing of content. It is very important for educational institutions to establish a specialized center for exchanging information related to modern methods of teaching and the possibility of exchanging curricula and different methods that can be relied upon in teaching the concepts of entrepreneurial work. Educational institutions should prepare all the study seats and design modern classrooms that contribute to strengthen the group learning system according to the latest methods. This makes the environment suitable for the teacher and students, which increases the students' appreciative capacity. And I want to talk about how did the educational system in Morocco, especially in Morocco, contribute to integrating these two concepts of entrepreneurship and innovation in the school curricula. First, I would like to point out that the National Charter for Education, which is a consensus between the various components of Moroccan society, has opened the door since the year 2000 to achieve noble goals and objectives, which are based mainly on encouraging educational innovation and adapting curricula to enhance students' learning of these basics of critical and creative thinking. The focus is mainly on developing higher thinking skills, which encourage the student to research and creativity instead of memorization and indoctrination, which is no longer in line with the challenges of the 21st century and even impedes the achievement of sustainable development goals. The new curriculum has also been integrating financial education at the primary level and accustoming students to financial planning and management in its simplified form since the lower levels in the Moroccan school. It is worth noting that the Moroccan educational system has created a permanent committee to renew and adapt the curricula in parallel with everything new in the educational and development, whether nationally or internationally. Work is carried out within Moroccan schools with several pedagogical models, including the pedagogy of the project, whether the school project, the classroom project, which the learners, the students prepare collectively under the supervision of their teacher, or the student's personal project, which the learner works on through his years of study and has an impact on his future professional orientation. I believe that the sustainable development goals should be essential in any educational system, whatever it is, considering that they summarize our goals that we seek to achieve as countries and individuals, and any reform, whatever it is, must be based on the school, as it is the first nucleus of any positive change that stems from the school towards the community, and we should not neglect the role of the teacher in any change of reform. Thank you again for making us a part of this successful and wonderful webinar. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much, ma'am. My name is MARWA ALSAWAIHLI from Libya. I'm a teacher from 22 years, and I'm teach the chemistry for the 12th grade, and in Misratah Center School for the teenager boys. And now we have the baccalaureate degree. They will be going to the university at last year. We are so late in Libya to complete our class this year. Of course, because Corona, that's the first things, and because I think the bad strategy for the education ministry too. So now I'm talking about education strategy follow Libya from this last year, the last century, and this century too. How we can teach her a challenge this the situation, the best situation in the education situation in Libya. At first, at the 15th from the last century, we have a good the king and government, old government at that time, the kingdom of our nation now, Libya nation, but that's in the 15th from the last century, it was this country was have a kingdom government. At the 50th century, at the last century, will start to the good and the strong education system. It was free and it is very slow to development, but it was stable. The first education strategy used in Libya and attempts to develop them. Education in Libya is made available and free, and the 50s, the principle of kind gradient was established, was where the teachers, as their number was very few, by bringing teachers from the state of Egypt at that time. Learning began in rapid development, and the first university was the University of Benghazi in 1956, followed by the Faculty of Science, Tripoli University, 1957 in Tripoli. Also, many children had in the 30s during Italian people. And it seemed slow. The education seemed slow, but it was effective and moving at the steady pace. As the university in Libya were according globally, and the graduates were very studying to specialization together, specialization together to make up for the shortage. And many were sent abroad to return and perform their academic duties toward their country. The development was continued until the beginning of the 80s of the last century. And the Libyan students become now for their excellence. The curricula were local and written by Libyan authors. A large number of academics of different nationalities were brought the universities and schools, and their own housing was built at the university. Where the Libyan universities were with the advanced global evolution. However, there was been a sharp decline in education since 1984, when the years of the sea began after the Lockerbie incident, which caused her isolation. Lockerbie accident. Libyan was isolation country. No academic anymore visit this country. The curricula remained strong enough to mention a scientific standing for university graduates. A deadline was issued for what is called a scientific revolution that was circulated to institution in which English and French book were born. This is in the primary and secondary stages. The affected the outputs of universities and become lower than before, in addition to the increase in the regulations of foreign academic due to the administrative choose and scientific institution. And computers were not known to the Libyans until 1988. There is one institution for them called Garionis, and long procedures take 2 years to obtain computer. The computer culture separate, and 2 schools for electronic sciences were opening, and they were popular with young people, which contributed to breaking the isolation and introducing young people to the world through the internet, which was limited at that time, and their usage of Yahoo in correspondence. Also, learning English began to meet with a large popular demand. So private schools were opened for it. This forced the government to return it to the circle of reform. The circular began, and the import of courses from other countries become more reliable than those writing by local academic. Science 2005, we have been offered what we call the Singapore curriculum, which was far from the culture of the Libyans and their local environment, and did not find acceptance, and its outputs are weak due to the lack of acceptance of the learner and teacher for it. And it did not contribute to improve the level of students. and thus the university's output, and it is still used until now. This curriculum has a certain requirement such laboratories, field trip, and classroom displays. And one of its conditions is that the number of students does not exceed 20 in each class. And this is not available in crowded schools. All these failures from the government lead to the emergence of individual initiative from teachers to improve education that developed and began to take professional forms, especially after the corona pandemic, during which we meet college from different cities through educational platforms in different applications, such as Google Teams and Zoom. Admissions was not easy and still require more distance education, but students now have electronic devices. And mobile phones, and they is very easy to communicate.
Miss Marwa, we're losing your voice.
And they have become, it also contributed, and the use of accreditation to start inside Libya, as mentions. This bio here. Okay, this chance. Do you hear me? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Do you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Can you hear me?
Thank you so much for sharing.
Okay, of course, sorry. Okay, thank you. You will. Goodbye. Goodbye.
So after listening to the speakers from Libya, Morocco, and Philippines, let me now take this opportunity to invite Ms. HAFSA from Algeria. You're welcome, Ms. HAFSA, to this international webinar, and I request you to please share your views.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. SHEELAN. I just would like to share my screen. Hi, everyone. My name is Mrs. HAFSA BOULENOUAR. I'm both Sultan Tassel certified EFL teacher and a current secondary school teacher. First of all, I'd like to welcome you for joining me in this presentation entitled Teaching Sustainability in the English Language Classroom. Also, I would like to thank all the previous presenters for the fruitful sessions they have just done. They were really informative and productive. Also, I would like to know if you have any questions or something to say, please write me in the chat box and I will try to answer all your questions. So in this presentation, we'll try to answer the following questions. What is sustainable development? Does sustainability matter to our students? How can I teach sustainability as an EFL teacher? And some lesson ideas for teaching sustainability with some practical resources that I would love to share with the presenters. Okay, so before answering those questions, there is a quote that I would like to reflect on by the Mahatma Gandhi. Be the change you wish to see in the world. What does that mean and how is it related to our topic of today? Well, I say that we are teachers, we are change makers. We have a huge responsibility towards our learners to make them involved in environmental and sustainable issues while teaching them the language. We are teachers. As teachers, we are not only concerned with teaching grammar and vocabulary, we are concerned with teaching them to be environmentally aware and eco-conscious about what's going on around us in the world, to become critical thinkers, lifelong learners, and future world citizens. So, to become future world citizens, they need to understand what is sustainable development. So this concept is actually defined according to the United Nations World Commission on Environment and Development as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. What does that mean? I'm going to try to reformulate it in other words. Sustainability is all about using the available resources, renewable or non-renewable, to develop, to prosper, and to meet our present needs without damaging or affecting the environment. Because it's our responsibility as world citizens, it's our responsibility towards our children, our grandchildren, our future generations to let them live in a safe, green planet. So this sustainability is actually divided into 4 types, or it stands under 4 pillars that can be shown in the pictures below. As you see, we have 4 pictures. The first one is for a child at school. The second one is for a group of people, which is about togetherness. The third one is for a tree. And the last one, as you see, money. So these are actually the 4 pillars of sustainability. The first one is human sustainability, which is about the individual well-being. And it is concerned with topics like leadership, gender equality, quality education, physical and mental health. The second type is not only concerned with the individual, but rather a group of people who form a community, and it is called social sustainability. It studies topics like peace, community development, equal opportunities, and human rights. The next one is related to environmental sustainability, which is about nature, about the protection of environmental resources, and it discusses climate change, energy use, waste control, and recycling. The last type is about financial growth. It's about management of money. It discusses profitability, job creation, cost savings, and cost of living. And it is called economic sustainability. So these 4 pillars are really important for us as EFL teachers and for our learners especially. Now, does sustainability matter to our students? This is the question. I believe yes, due to its various advantages that I'm going to mention just some of them. The first one is about raising awareness of global issues and problems that touch our children's lives. Because no matter where are you from or where do you live, we are all responsible about our planet, our green globe that we all live in. The second advantage is about empowering children with language to talk about global issues. When I teach sustainability, I'm providing my students, I'm providing my learners with the language they need to discuss and to talk about global issues. I'm helping them to talk confidently, most importantly, and to express their points of view freely without any constraints. The third advantage is developing critical thinking and problem-solving skills. I am enabling my learners to make reasonable judgments that are logical, thoughtful, and to identify the problems, search for their causes, effects, and how to solve them most importantly. The next one is providing opportunities to think out of the box. So I'm encouraging my students' creativity to be creative and innovative. Most importantly, I just forgot the one before, which is encouraging the belief that it is the responsibility of everyone. So it's not the responsibility of one person. We live as a group. We live in a community. So the most important thing we need is to collaborate with each other to maintain sustainability in our schools, in our classrooms, and in our world. The next part is about integrating values which help to promote reflective thinking. So what is reflective thinking? I'm going to help my learners to think about their previous actions before and after. What am I teaching them? Am I going to make a change in their current attitudes and behaviors? Are they going to apply what they have learned in the classroom, outside of the classroom walls? So I'm helping them to make responsible choices to manage their principled behavior. Now, how can I teach sustainability in the classroom? This is the question that every EFL teacher falls across. How to teach it? Well, I'm going to make it easier for you. It's BOMP. What does that BOMP stand for? Well, the B stands for background. The first thing you have to take into consideration is the background of your students, their age, their nationality, their needs, level, interests, and culture, most importantly. All these play a role when shaping your lesson about sustainability. The second phase is objectives. As teachers, in every lesson, we must take into consideration what are the intermediate objectives for my lesson. So we must include collaboration between our learners. They should work in pairs and in groups. You should help them to be creative and to think outside of the box. Enhance their creativity, their critical thinking, and autonomous learning. Help them to learn, not only in the classroom, I repeat, but also outside of the classroom. The third point is M. M stands for materials. Where am I going to take my materials from? Well, you can search online, use the textbook, choose your materials. The most important thing you should take into consideration is that they have to be authentic, okay? And they have to be adapted and related according to the curriculum you are teaching with. As an Algerian teacher myself, I include sustainability in my lessons, but how and when? This is the most important question. I have, for example, a theme in second-year classes, a unit about waste not, want not. So this is already about nature. I am going to include sustainable development in any phase I would like to teach. In a reading lesson, writing, speaking, grammar, any type of lessons. It depends on how am I going to adapt it. Also, I should take into consideration that the learning styles and strategies of my learners are really important. I should take into consideration their multiple intelligences. I don't have only one student in my classroom. I have several students who learn differently. And in my classroom, everyone should have a chance, an opportunity to learn. So I should take into consideration that I have visual learners, I have auditory learners, and I have kinesthetic learners. And I should adapt my teaching strategies and methods according to my learners, of course. The third or the fourth point is P, which is pedagogy. So how am I going to manage all these points in relation to pedagogy? They must be related to communicative language teaching. I am there to help my students to learn the English language, most importantly. I should give them an opportunity to speak and to express their communicative language skills, to be able to communicate effectively in the target language. Also, it should be student-centered. They are the center of the learning process. As a teacher, my role there is just a facilitator, a guide, an inspirer who is there just to give them a help, a hand of help, not to be the knowledge holder. So here I would love to share with you some lesson topics for teaching sustainability. I have tried some of them and they are really interesting, especially for young learners. The first one is reduce, reuse, recycle. The 3 R's. To cut back the amount of trash we generate. So the second topic is about food waste. The third one is about alternative energy resources, solar energy, wind energy, etc. As an Algerian citizen myself, my country has only or most efficiently non-renewable resources. So I should make my learners aware of the alternative energy resources we will need in the future. The Amazon rainforest is just a wonderful topic. Also, you can adapt it to your country. Any famous rainforest in your country would be just engaging for your learners, biodiversity and pollution with its several types. Now, some lesson activities for teaching sustainability. We have the first activity that I've personally tried with my learners and they really enjoyed it. Rubbish bin sorting activity. You have just 4 bins in the classroom: plastic, food, glass, and paper. And you bring any trash you find, any garbage you have in your house, and you just let them sort, okay? They're learning how to sort things and they will try it at their homes, okay? You are helping them to change their attitudes inside the classroom and outside the classroom. They need to try this at home with their parents to make a change in the community. Also, energy-free day. You can adapt it to the level of your learners. Energy-free day or 1 hour free energy. It depends. And they are going also to try it outside and inside the classroom. Build a class garden. It would be loads of fun. Flowers garden, a veggie garden, anything. It would be amazing. How can we make our classroom more sustainable? You're going to help them to be productive, innovative, and critical thinkers. I've tried with this activity with my learners and they astonished me. They brought loads of ideas that I didn't think about myself. And we tried them and it was amazing. read books about the earth. So every student would go to the library of the school, take a book about nature, about the earth, and read it. After that, we meet all together and everyone is going to share his ideas. What have he learned from the book he read? We will all learn from each others. The last one is reuse items for crafts. Anything they don't need at home, they will try to reuse it to create something new. They are not going to throw it, but to reuse it. This is the point. So we are making long-term change in their behaviors. Now, I would love to share with you some resources for teaching sustainability.
Ms. Hafsa,
Resources
if I can, since we're running out of time, so I'll just request you to, it's a very, very interesting session going on.
Thank
But I'm so
you.
sorry to interrupt. If you can wrap it up
This
fast,
is the
it would be
last
really helpful.
slide, actually.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. So resources for teaching sustainability, you can find resources everywhere. But here I would love to share just some very important ones that any EFL teacher would need. We have talks that maybe we'll try to adapt them in a speaking lesson. We have TEDx. You can just type it. You have lots of speakers and talks about any topic you would like to adopt in your classroom. We have MP3 audios for a listening lesson. I would love to share with you listenaminute.com. It is really interesting and you will find a lot of resources for yes teachers that you can adapt in your classrooms. At any level you want, beginner, intermediate, advanced, everything is there. We have videos from YouTube, of course, the famous YouTube. If you are tired, there are ready-made lesson plans. Just go to sustainablelearning.com. Everything is there about sustainability. Any lesson you'd like to adapt in your classroom, it's already made. You have just to take it, print it, and teach it. We have photos, picsforlearning.com, and we have songs. Our students really enjoy songs. So songsforteaching.com about nature and sustainability are really interesting to make them as a resource while teaching your language. As a photo, for example, this photo is really informative for our learners. We can adapt it as a warming up or leading activity. So thank you very much. I really enjoyed presenting this workshop for you.
Thank you, Ms. Hafsa, for such a wonderful sharing. We wish you would have really more time to listen to you. As you said, students need to have awareness of global issues and something as important as sustainable development goals as well. And BOM model that you shared is really, really very amazing. Now, moving on to our next speaker, Che Azura Hanim, may I request you to please share your thoughts and also request you, in favor of time, because we are lined up with few more speakers after our panel.
Yes. So I think first of all, I would like to thank first hello, and I hope that all of you are all in good conditions, because I think all of us are facing a pandemic currently, right? So first of all, I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me to share my views in this wonderful conference. So Dr. Sheelan, how many minutes do I have? I try to wrap up as much as I can. So basically, today I would like to share with all of you in terms of my journey as a edupreneur. Okay, I think about 8 years as educator, and then I just gone into entrepreneur, leading the InnoHub, which is research from our research in the lab to be a small startup company. So maybe I would like to share with you, because our topic today is about the role of innovation and entrepreneurship. So I'm not sure whether how many of you are aware about design thinking, because I think in order to make sure that our students have both skills in innovation and entrepreneurship, I think we need to teach our students in terms of design thinking. I think design thinking is really important, because in design thinking, our students will be introduced in terms of they need to be empathized, they need to define what is the current real world problem, and then they need to ideate, and then they need to come up with prototype, and then they need to test the prototype. So usually for in my class, although I'm teaching different subjects in my faculty, but I usually put this design thinking in each and every class, and then try to put like for me, I think each and every topic in my lecture as well, I try to relate with the design thinking, because I strongly believe that all human beings have an ability to design. So I think I would like to give the freedoms to my students in order to make sure that maybe previously they don't have the opportunity to design something, right? So in my class, usually I start with design thinking, and then we would like to have a look towards the end of the semester how the student can achieve the what they learn through the design thinking. So apart from that, I would like to share with you, because when we talk about innovation, because currently as a because University Putra Malaysia is one of a research university, so basically in our class also we need to make sure that our students know how to do research. And because I'm teaching physics and nanotechnology, and then I think now because entrepreneurship and innovation, we also need technology. So basically what I can say that when I have a look at the entrepreneurship, they have their own step, and the step as entrepreneur is similar to step as a research or innovation. First, you need to make sure you need to investigate or you need to know what is the current problem, okay? And then you need to, or usually in entrepreneur, we have what we call, if you come up with a product, you need to know what is your USP, right? Unique selling point. So similar as entrepreneur, and then in research or innovation, you need to know what is the unique selling point of your research as well. So of course, the first one in research, you need to know what is the current problem, and then how can your research overcome the problem. The next step in entrepreneur, the first one is in investigation or research phase. The next step is planning. So similar in entrepreneur or in innovation, we need to have a planning phase, followed by a startup phase, or in research, we need to what we call do some optimization in lab. So similar to entrepreneur, we need to do what we call a market validation. Okay, so then we need to do the operation, and then monitoring, followed by what are the problem or what are the challenge that we face. So similar in research. So when you conduct the research, sometimes you have the hypothesis, but you cannot, after you conduct the experiment, sometimes you didn't achieve the hypothesis. So that means that you are now having what we call problem or challenge. Then you need to do what we call
अब ये देखिए बायोमैपिंग से स्टार्ट करना ठीक है?
Sorry.
Yeah,
okay.
please go ahead.
Okay, so then followed by, we need to have a look what are the next level. So maybe once you know the problem, then you need to overcome, or you need to find another approach. So in our group, usually for currently, because like my students, in terms of research, we are focusing on SDG 3, which is health and well-being. So for example, in health and well-being, we know that because Malaysia also developing country, and then currently my research focusing on cancer. So what we have a look is, like when a person that being diagnosed with cancer, sometimes the problem is the cause. So in my research, I would like to educate my students. Is it possible that with the knowledge of design thinking, with the knowledge of nanotechnology, with the knowledge of synthesis of new materials for cancer research, is it possible for us to come up with very cheap materials for targeted drug delivery? Because I think the cost for cancer treatment is quite high, because of the because currently we are rely on the high cost drug, for example. So That's why currently we are focusing on the health and well-being. Apart from that, I also focusing on quality education. So for in terms of quality education, I try to use a lot of different approach in class so that the students not only learn about fundamentals. So they need to relate the fundamentals that they learn in class to the real world problem. And then how can they use whatever that they learn in order to overcome the real world problem. And the next, I would like to share because currently I think in Malaysia, we also having a problem with clean water and sanitation. So that's another area that we are focusing on. So we are basically in our group, we focusing on try to create a new materials that can, you know, like if you have a river that polluted by dyes, for example, or anything that not good for your health. So how can these nanomaterials absorb the pollution? Okay, so in in terms of that, I would like to also share with you in terms of like when we talk about innovation, entrepreneurship, I think we need three things. We need an inspiring environment. I think in university or in school, so university and schools, I look at them as an inspiring environment, where in this inspiring environment, the students and the teacher can then collaborate together to create the value and they both can innovate together. So I would like to share with you also in terms of like in Malaysia, because in order to make sure that we are successful in inculcate innovation and entrepreneurship, we need a good policy. I think maybe all of you agree that we need a good policy to also like guiding us. So in Malaysia, basically we have what we call 12 Malaysian planning of IR 4.0. We have the second policy, which is a shared prosperity vision 2030. We have like what we call a framing higher education policy. We have also national entrepreneur policy. So all these policy really helping us. And then in Malaysia, we have also what we call Magic Malaysia. So this Magic Malaysia basically a place where Malaysian Global Innovation and Creativity Center. So this center basically guiding young kids up to educators to learn what is the current innovation, and then they also offer certain training, because I think as an educator, we ourselves we need to get to be trained in terms of the latest innovation. In Malaysia also we have what we call MDEC, which is Malaysian Digital Economy, and then currently we have also what we call InnoThink. So all these really help us in Malaysia, and I think we still need to fully utilize all these things in order to make sure that we can working together as an educator, university, and then the stakeholder. Because I think in order to be successful to producing a next generation of innopreneur, innovative, because innovation and entrepreneur. So I think we need to have like good supports, not only from our government, but also from other stakeholders. And then I think we also need to have like training from the outside, from maybe from the country that you know, like UK or US, because I think they already advanced, because I think their students are also quite advanced. So I really hope that I can do something in my university, in my class. So I think we can start small and then we can achieve more. So I think tonight I also learned a lot from all the speakers, and I hope to collaborate with all of you in order to make sure that we can together create a future innopreneur. So with that, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Azura Hanem from Malaysia, for sharing those vibrant views. And I really like the methodology of design thinking that you use in your teaching style. Wonderful sharing. Now, instead of going for my round of questions, since we have paucity of time, let's directly come to just 2 questions right now that I see in the chat box from the audience. One question from Sunatan Ghosh is how to prevent students from dropping out in this pandemic situation. As all of you are aware, pandemic has caused a lot of issues economically for the families, and kids are dropping out from schools. So any of the panel speakers who would like to take up this question, how to prevent students from dropping out in this pandemic situation?
Okay,
Dr.
can I have?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Okay, in our case, that's a very big problem because most of our students in the private school are transferring in the public schools. So I only point 3. First is more patience in understanding the situations of every families, and then second is um, provide an extra mile, extra effort to understand the things, their problems, and then come up with an innovative skill or material or modes in order for them to continue their studies. And lastly is that a school leader must be innovative and creative. The success of our future generation depends on the school leader. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Leo. Let me move on to the second question now. Here it talks about, it is from Ifat Varsi, and the question is how design thinking help in becoming an entrepreneur?
Okay, thank you so much for the questions. So basically, for the design thinking, let's say if you come up with a product, so of course you need to have the prototype, and then you need to test, and then similar to be an entrepreneur, you need to have something that you can sell to others. Okay, it is a product or it's service, so we need to make sure that we have something. So in design thinking, we need to not only design, we need the prototype, and then we need to test. So that's why I think design thinking is really a good course that need to be embedded in our class.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Azura Hanum, for sharing that. One last question, which I'll take up, and this is open for all the panelists. And please, just in 2 sentences, if you can answer. I know it is difficult, but still, if you can try that. The question is, how to effectively incorporate entrepreneurship in class 10th and 12th students? Kindly share your views. It is from Girish Sapra.
Can I answer?
Please, please, go ahead.
Certainly, we can integrate the concept of entrepreneurship even for the youngest students by accustoming them to higher order thinking skills first, communication skills, collaborative and emotional learning, and through daily activities, including those related to, for example, financial education or how to create a project, a birthday, for example, for a student, and preparing for it and distributing tasks, for example, is a kind of entrepreneurship, isn't it? Yes, but please give the students the opportunity to express all the ideas, no matter how simple they seem to you. All the achievements of the present were just simple and imaginary ideas in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. HASSNA. One more panel speaker, would any of you would like to take up this? All right. So
hello, I just need to, hello.
Yes, yes, Mr. Prabir.
Yeah, so I guess one of the things is very important, right, from the school education, right, provide one of the thing is the career counseling session, like a seminar. Or the other thing is I believe on entrepreneurs, like what are the options are there. For example, if in India specific or particular city, what are the entrepreneurship options are there. So the seminar, inviting speakers on that, so that students know that. And then the other thing is the statistics. What is the current statistics, right? What is going on in the market? So the market statistics, those has to be shared with the students. And then, right, it's easier for them to at least go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabir. Gurdin has switched on her video. So that's a warning sign for me that I should close now. And we had some wonderful panelists today. And it was my honor to be in your company, listening to all your great thoughts. So all the esteemed panelists, thank you so much for being here with us today. And in my concluding remarks, if you just give me last 1 minute, please. So we have seen that the kind of landscape is changing with respect to employment and the entire global ecosystem, be it environment or so on. It has become more and more critical that children not only learn what they're learning, but also learn how to learn more advanced technologies, right? So education is moving from less content and more towards how to think critically and solve problems, how to be creative, how to be multidisciplinary, right? So this is how the pedagogy has to be evolved, which will cater to these needs. The curriculum has to include all, not only education, but education on fitness, language, literature, culture, values, right? So education must be able to build the character. It enables learners to be ethical, rational, compassionate, caring, while at the same time prepare them for gainful, fulfilling and employment. And let me close with this saying from Nelson Mandela, where he has mentioned, education is the most powerful weapon which can be used to change the world. And I think that's what all the educationists around the world are aiming at. And that's what we gain from all the eminent speakers today. So thank you so much for sharing your vibrant thoughts. And thank you, Gurleen, for allowing us this time to spend in the panel. And over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for being the moderator for today's panel discussion. And thank you all the panelists also for giving us such a great information, and it was really a great session. All the educators, they were having the great information. As I was watching the chat session also, the comments were wonderful. Thank you all, and I would also like to thank Mr. Edward he's side by answering the questions in the chat box while we are having the panel discussion. Thank you so much, sir, and thank you to all the panelists, and thank you to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Gurleen. Thanks to the entire team of Yuva.